Okay, here we go. I have so much to say about this topic. I didn't realize how many thoughts I had about this until I tried to distill it down to a script. But for the purposes of this little video series about the gray areas of drinking and substance use, we'll stick to one topic. You do not have to hit rock bottom. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Welcome back. My name is Jennifer. I'm a mother of 4 in recovery from alcohol addiction, and I'm not here trying to write a big thesis or a TED Talk. The information on all of this is already out there. I'm just trying to share it as a friend who has been and is doing this recovery thing. So please watch this video to the end because I address alternate perspectives. And as I always say, maybe something that's been helpful for me will be helpful for you too. If you do want a more in-depth rock bottom 101, full, this perspective, the history, harmful, helpful, please comment that and I will happily do that. But I need the encouragement and the endorsement because it will be a lot of work. So let's just get into it. This is a phrase that gets used a lot in conversations about addiction and recovery. You've probably heard it. They haven't hit rock bottom yet. Or maybe you've said it to yourself. I'm not that bad, or I'm not bad enough to need to do anything about it. That's one kind of waiting. There is another kind, and I know this one a little bit more personally. It's when you already know, and you've known for a while, maybe for years, and you're not waiting because you think you're fine. You're waiting because you're not sure the help will work, and you can't afford to be wrong about that. Both of these are real and valid, and this video is for both people. So what I really want to talk about today is the idea of rock bottom itself, where it came from, what the research says, and why you don't have to wait for it, any kind of waiting, to take yourself seriously. So the phrase rock bottom has a very specific history. It first appeared in a research paper in 1965 that suggested that people need to reach a crisis point before they can change. From there, it made its way into 12-step culture, into treatment philosophy, into the way family talked about their loved ones, and into the stories we tell ourselves. So there was a researcher named E.M. Jelinek, whose work in the 1960s proposed that alcoholism progressed in stages, that people had to move through increasingly serious phases before recovery became possible. What's worth noting is that his research was based on questionnaires filled out by a small hand-selected group of people who were in AA and had experienced addiction and recovery through that narrative of increasing seriousness to the point of rock bottom and then recovery. So it was kind of taking a back to front look at what happens in addiction and what leads to recovery based on a very small sample of people from a very specific type of experience. And that kind of gives the idea that most or all people have gone through that. This model shaped addiction treatment for decades, and it had the built-in assumption you had to get bad enough first. The science has moved on since then, but the idea has been much slower to follow. And in the meantime, a lot of people have been waiting, maybe looking for that dramatic turning point, maybe getting caught in the comparison trap, comparing our situation to something worse as a means of avoiding facing it, confronting it, maybe changing it. And well-meaning people sometimes reinforce it. They have to want it first. They have to hit rock bottom. Here's what we actually know now. First of all, rock bottom has never been clearly defined, at least not clinically. There's no agreed upon threshold, no measure. What counts as rock bottom for one person could just be a regular day for someone else. And without a definition, there can't be a reliable clinical concept. It's just a story we tell. Second, and we've talked about this, motivation for change does not require a crisis. It can be built. There's the stages of change model, which is in the Smart Recovery Handbook, and I've talked about it here on the channel. It's foundational to how most evidence-based treatment works now. It shows that people move toward change gradually, and that skilled support can help move that change along without anyone needing to lose everything first. Third, and this one really surprised me, and I'm still absorbing it. I think we've all experienced well-meaning people reinforcing the they have to want it narrative, the they have to hit bottom narrative. But what the research actually says, people who enter treatment because they were pushed to by a court, a family member, a doctor, have the same outcomes as people who came entirely on their own, which means the they have to want it idea, the one that keeps people waiting or that keeps families at arm's length, isn't supported by the research. Lastly, earlier is easier. I mean, I'm living proof that later isn't impossible, but the brain changes gradually through repetition. So 15 years worth of a pattern repeating, it's just going to take more to shift that than 2 years of a pattern repeating. Earlier is just easier. I want to talk more about that second kind of waiting that I mentioned in the intro, because I didn't really find many people talking about it. I knew for a long time that my relationship with alcohol wasn't right. I tried many times to stop or cut back. I made changes that nobody else could even see. And I did everything under the sun before entering a inpatient treatment program. And I wasn't waiting because I thought I was fine. I was waiting because I had read the statistics and I had legitimate concerns about the options that were available to me. I had 4 kids at home, and I needed to know that whatever I was going to do next was going to be worth it. Some of the steps I took in my recovery, I took very cautiously, very deliberately, and sometimes kind of waited to take them. I don't call that denial. I call that doing my best to make careful decisions in incredibly difficult circumstances. And if this kind of a story applies to you, if that's where you are, if you already know, you're trying to figure out what the next right step is and whether it will actually work, that is not the same thing as not being ready. And the rock bottom myth doesn't really have anything to say to you, because you're not waiting for a sign. You're waiting for something that feels safe enough to try. And that's a different problem with a different answer. Instead of waiting for things to get worse, the answer is to find something that's worth the risk. And plenty of those things do exist. Evidence-based options, programs that have carefully thought about who they serve, and support that doesn't require you to fit into a specific mold. They are harder to find than they should be, but they exist. You don't have to hit rock bottom, but you also don't have to be certain before you make a move. So I encourage you to find something that feels worth trying. I want to say one more thing before I close. My old facilitator, Dell, used to love quoting the saying, the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, the opposite of addiction is connection. That's really true. And we are wired for connection. We are hardwired for connection and community. And finding community when we're experiencing something that can push us to the outskirts of community is scary. But here are some things I can say about connection. Talk to friends you have. If you have one friend you can trust, a family member you can trust with your vulnerability, talk with them about it. It doesn't need to be a big flashy announcement. It's just sharing something that has become a reality for you that you want to confront. So yeah, talk to a trusted friend about what you've been experiencing. Make a plan together. Check in a couple times a day, read some books, find a podcast. Look into your experience with curiosity. If this isn't working for me, what would? And if you would rather not talk to friends and family about what you're going through, I totally get it. What you may not know is that you can actually attend meetings now. Of course, I'm going to recommend Smart Recovery meetings because they make the most sense to me, but find what makes sense to you. But when you When you sit in a room with people who can relate to the things you've been scared to say out loud, nothing beats that feeling of relief. You can also log on to meetings happening online all around the world at all hours of the day. So if you can't get out physically, you can still get connected. There's no entry threshold for meetings like this. You don't have to be bad enough or powerless or out of control. If you are those things, by all means, come on in. But I have met so many people who have what would be qualified as a mild or moderate issue, who just wanted to tackle it head on and get some tools, find some community, and some support to help them make that change they want to make. If you have a rock bottom story, a moment that cracked it open for you, a point where everything became undeniable, seeing yourself as others have seen you, cons are outweighing the pros, bottom floor, rock bottom, that experience is real and it matters. And I'm not here to take that away from anyone. What I'm pushing back on is the idea that everyone needs one, that you have to earn the right to get help by losing enough first. A crisis can be a catalyst, but it was never meant to be a requirement. Somewhere along the way, for a lot of people, it became one. And that part is worth questioning. In conclusion, wherever you are right now, whether you're in the I'm not sure this applies to me, or I already know but I'm not sure what to do next, you don't have to try to figure it all out. The fact that you're here watching this, still watching this, means maybe you are curious, and it means you're paying attention. And it's not overreacting to take it seriously. I'll put some resources in the description, and I do have an ever-updating link with sources and citations in my description. I couldn't help myself, and I made a list of 4 alternatives to rock bottom. So I'll put that in a short and post it either before or after this. If this video is sitting with you, I would love to hear from you in the comments. If you're interested in more videos like this, please subscribe. In the meantime, take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon.